Hi, welcome to this week's episode of In the Hoods. This week we're going to be talking about NoMad. Now, NoMad, it's a neighborhood made up of an acronym for North of Madison Square Park. And apparently this name began to be used in 1999. Although I was living there during that time and I don't remember it at all. I remember calling the area South Murray Hill and Northern Macedonia because it was so sketchy. But it has incredible history, I've discovered, and I want to tell you about it. I wish I'd appreciated it when I lived there, which was between 1977 and 2004. But I digress. NoMad really runs from 23rd Street on the south, north to 30th Street, and on the west to 6th Avenue, and on the east to Lexington Avenue. And again, it is named after Madison Square Park, which has served many functions in the life of New York City. Madison Square Park has been a public area since 1686 and has served as a military parade ground. It was a potter's field. It was also an area in the 1800s that was surrounded by townhomes. It was a very fashionable place to live. It was in the early 1900s, 1913, where the big armory, the 69th Regimental Armory, which is on 26th and 25th and Lexington. It's still there. It's huge, this huge open space, and it was used for a modern art show, and apparently it spearheaded the introduction of modern art into New York. Madison Square Garden used to be on the northeast side of Madison Square Park. The area around Madison Square was inhabited by some very famous families of the day, and it became a gathering space for people of the Gilded Age. Oscar Wilde, J.P. Morgan, James Gordon Bennett, and assorted royalty came to this area. Apparently, Delmonico's must have been in the area because I see references to all these people having dined there. Later on, and as a result of these families living around the park, churches were built up. You have on 29th Street a famous Episcopal church called the Little Church Around the Corner, where it's an ornate little church. It's beautiful. Services are a little hard to take because they'll gag you with the incense, but it was a church where theater people used to run to get married. And that's how it got its name, Little Church Around the Corner. Let's meet at the Little Church Around the Corner. Marble Collegiate is on 5th Avenue. And there's also a famous church, the Serbian Orthodox Cathedral. I believe it's on 26th Street, and they had a big fire there a couple of years ago, and I think it's being restored now. But Edith Wharton was married in that church. Hotels were built in the late 1800s in this area, some famous hotels. The Fifth Avenue Hotel, the Gilded Hotel. There was a famous hotel on 26th Street, and many of these hotels were servicing an emerging commercial area. New York Life moved into the area. I remember in the early 1900s, one of the famous buildings was 225 Fifth Avenue, where my mother did a lot of business in showrooms for gift supplies. Business was done very differently then. It was pre-internet, and there was much more one-on-one. And 225 Fifth Avenue was famous for its showrooms. You'd go from showroom to showroom and place orders. And many of the manufacturers were from other parts of the country, but they staffed these showrooms, and it was almost, you had to have a showroom at 225 Fifth. There was also the toy building across the street, which had toy showrooms, toy manufacturers from around the country. And this building was essentially open only during the toy show, which ran for a week or two, twice a year, and then these showrooms would be open. So they supported this whole building only for a couple of weeks out of the year. It's wild to me. It's so different now. But, as commercial properties, as a lot of these things slowed down, the neighborhood became much seedier. The hotels, many of them turned to welfare hotels and a couple of SROs. The area on 28th Street, I never knew this either, between Fifth Avenue and Broadway was called Tin Pan Alley. And this is where music publishers all had their offices. This was again in the 1800s and early 1900s. All along Broadway, in the 20s, you ended up with wholesalers. And many of them are still there, although the area is being repurposed, hotels are coming back. It's still kind of a little seedy, with the guys who sell on the street probably go down there to purchase. They're wholesalers, wholesale only shops along Broadway and down on the street. So the area is not what it was in the 1800s, but it's coming back. The Gilded Hotel, which is a fabulous Beaux-Arts cast iron building, was converted, I'm not sure exactly when, into co-ops, probably mid to late 1900s. And it's a fabulous building sitting right on the corner of 29th Street and Broadway. So, yet again, a neighborhood that is often overlooked. I overlooked it while living there for 30 years, which has so much history, has so much to recommend it. And Madison Square Park is absolutely gorgeous now. Businesses around the park, they developed. They raised money, they renovated the park. It's now kid-friendly. It has a playground. Most of the junkies are gone. Instead, you have Shake Shack, and they have public art shows in the park. It's really a beautiful place and should be visited, appreciated, and protected.